Hello, 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 and welcome once again to the Loudcast. This is our lockdown NaPoWriMo special that we've been doing. It is week 4, right? This is the 4th episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Time is real.
Yeah, I am so confused. I am Kevin McLean. I will be your host. As always, I am joined by Big Papa himself, Perry Johnson.
It is I, Big Papa.
By Katie. I can't believe she's a PhD either Ailes. And from a remote location in Leith, I'm contractually obliged to point out that she is not a murderer, Beck Sherwood.
Not a murderer.
Yeah, because Mark's fine, isn't he, Bex?
Yeah, Mark isn't he dead? It's fine.
Cool. So, welcome back, guys. It's been another week of NaPoWriMo. We've lost our minds. Please help us. No, it's good. It's been good. I have not been in a lot of tooth pain this week, so it's went pretty well for me. Guys, how are you doing? Bex, you can kick us off.
I'm good. Work has been really stressful. I think I'm the only person who I know who is busier during quarantine and lockdown than normal. But yeah, I'm good. Wrote all my poems. No failures here. And no dead housemates.
You did all your poems. Nice, nice. And since we're going under this illusion that Mark is still alive, did Mark do all of his poems
Yeah,
this
Mark
week?
did all of his poems. I have one of Mark's poems to share with you guys later.
If it's Cockney rhyming slang, you're rumbled.
Shit. Shouldn't have written about cows.
So you and Mark have both survived the week. Well done. Good job. Perry, how did you get on this week?
Same boat as Bex. I thought I was in a bad state the previous week, and then this week only got worse. And yeah, I've been equally more busy than I am usually in my normal job, and writing has been difficult. But I think I have 1 or 2 poems that are like, okay. I didn't miss any days, so that's good.
Good. Well done. You also, so no forfeit in your future. Nope. Well done. And Katie Ailes, how are you getting on?
I mean, I'm not a real doctor, but, you know, I guess I'm
I didn't say
fine.
you're not a real doctor. I said I can't believe you are a doctor. Those are 2 very different things.
It's like the difference between butter and I can't believe it's not butter.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
I do
Other
like
butters are
margarine.
available.
Anyway, this week was hard. I wrote some pieces that I think will be good after I've had a chance to edit them. I have some lines that I'm really proud of, but yeah, it's getting tough. I started about 15 poems. I finished about 3 that I'm proud of, and then 4 sort of quick cop-out things.
I was going to say I'm privy to most of Katie's writing over everyone else. And there were a few nights this evening where you'd been slaving away for ages over this poem, and I was very excited to read it, and then you'd come out with like a whole limerick. This is today. So Katie's been in a place, but you've survived. You've made it through also.
Yeah, no forfeits. Didn't miss a day.
So I am still the only one who has failed. But to make it up, I did say last week when I failed, I did say that I would not only take the forfeit on the chin, but I would catch up. And I will let you know I've written 9 poems this week, and I have managed to catch up by the skin of my teeth. I haven't done today. I haven't done S yet, but it's so close.
It's R today, not S.
Not if we're recording this podcast on the day it goes out, Perry.
So
Good thing we didn't have a big conversation just before we hit record about remembering that.
busy.
So I've written lots of poems, is the point.
Right, and how many of them have you written in the past 10 minutes?
2. Yeah.
Just saying.
But I'm doing well.
Yeah.
But so I thought what I would do is I would kick off with the poem I did for my forfeit, right? Because I should answer it. So I'll go over first. We had 2 options for forfeit. We had a pun poem, wasn't it? Oh no, it was
cow
a
poem.
cow poem. We had cow poem, or we had univocalism, and we received the most votes we've received on a poll so far. So a big fuck you to you guys. I of course received univocalism. So
I still think you should have done both.
oh really? Yeah.
Univocal
No.
cow poem.
It was. I did think about it, but then I was like, it's just gonna be me going moo moo moo. cow, and no one wants that. So I wrote a univocalism. So I will. It's short, so I'll go through that and then we'll crack on. So O is for only O, which I didn't write on the day that O actually is. So
Time isn't real, Kev.
I'm
Just
so
remember
confused. Yeah. O is for only O. Go on. Don't stop. Hold out for crowns, for gold, for songs of glory, forgo sorrow. No only soft, no only glow, no story told drowns. So that was my attempt at a univocalism, and it is only one vowel. I don't know if it's good or not. I was writing it. It was my Insta day, and I was trying to throw up the process of doing a univocalism. So I was like, here's me listing all the words, and here's me putting together the first draft. The first draft is the last draft.
They're so hard though. I mean, I tried to do univocal, and I have the start of a thing that I want to continue later, but it's really challenging.
Yeah.
Because all of your instincts you then have to curb. So
yeah, it's very odd. You just run into these hurdles where you hit a word that you can't find a replacement for, or two ideas you can't link together, and then you have to go right back to the drawing board, because as soon as you've thrown off that tangent, it's so tough. I advise everyone to do them.
Yeah.
I can't believe the votes. It was really mean. But yeah, so I was thinking, because obviously I failed and I've made it up. I feel I've done my part, but you guys are smashing it, and I am getting to the point that I'm thinking no one else is going to fail, and I want other people to have to do the difficult, horrible things I have to.
You're so kind.
And petty. So what I was thinking is that instead of coming up with a new forfeit for everyone to vote on, I thought what we could do is a challenge. So we could put up in the poll a list of challenges for you to pick from, and the one that gets picked we all have to do this week. But you can do it on whatever day you want. We'll take the vote from the first 24 hours the video's up or whatever. So I am going to suggest for my one that you have to write a poem in 10 minutes.
So, like all the poems?
So
All
what
right.
I've been doing at 11:45 every night this week.
I know for a fact that isn't true, because I've watched them both in their offices going, oh no. So, yeah, you have to bash out in 10 minutes time, stopwatch. You need to decide you're doing it for that poem before you start.
Cool.
So that's my 10-minute time limit.
Right.
Bex, what are you thinking for yours?
Mine's a bit more evil because I think it will take more time. I think that this week it would be interesting if we wrote reverse poems, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a poem that you can read both from the top to the bottom and from the bottom up.
That's what I was going to suggest. God damn you, Bex.
I thought about suggesting that and went, no, actually, because then I'll have to do it.
Oh
Damn.
my god, that's hard.
Yeah, so you don't have to vote for it. But last time we said that, Kev did a univocalism, so we'll see.
So it's like a palindrome, right? It's like...
You can read it either way. Yeah. Ooh.
That's very good.
I hadn't even thought about that as an option.
Damn, you sure would. Just remember, you'll have to write 2 because you're writing poems for the dead man. Katie, have you got a challenge?
So I'm so tempted to make everyone write cow univocalisms, but I won't do that as my
It'd be the same poem because everyone has to use O because it's a cow.
But in honor of Killing Eve being back, I think my challenge is going to be to write a villanelle.
Oh.
See, that's hard to do in a day.
I don't know what that is.
It's so basically you have a number of three line stanzas, and you have to use repeating lines at the end of the stanza, and it's a whole thing. It's easier than a sestina though, which was my first thought.
What was the one that Deanna Roger did on her Insta?
I think that was a villanelle.
Was it a villanelle?
Yeah.
I don't know if she's got that up as a saved story. Check out Deanna Rogers on is it Rogers or Roger?
Roger.
It's Roger. On Insta, because it might be in her saved stories. Because
Even
I
if
found
not,
that really helpful.
Deanna's amazing. So.
Yeah. So you're pitching the villanelle. So we've got I've forgotten my own random time limit, 10-minute time limit. We've got Bex on the palindrome, and we have Katie's villanelle. Pair.
I will pitch what I ended up doing today, and that wasn't planned. On the letter the day is, you're only allowed to use words starting with that letter.
So aiming for big time alliteration.
Yeah.
Right. No joining words like ands, ins, this.
You're allowed to use ampersand, and that's the only one.
And like punctuation, right?
Punctuation, yeah. And apostrophe. For instance, in the one I wrote today, I did apostrophe round for around.
I see.
Oh, I like that. Okay. All right.
Right, and Mark, he doesn't get one because he's dead.
Has to be a poem about bears.
He's not dead. I cannot stress this enough. Stop sending the police to my house. Mark is not dead.
They have enough other stuff to do.
So those are going to be our 4 suggestions. Either 10-minute poem. Turns out I'm the nice guy.
Yeah.
I wrote 9 poems this week. I didn't want anything hard. 10-minute time limit. The palindrome from Bex, a villanelle from Kay, or the alliteration from Perry. So go and vote in the eye up in the corner there, and yeah, we will get that done. So you've got 24 hours to vote. Cool, that is the challenge for next week. You guys can decide once we figure out what day it'll be on. We might not all choose the same, letters or prompts or whatever, but we will read those out next week. But for now, we want to get into the poems we did this week. I have loads to choose from, but I think we're getting...
Way to brag.
No, I
many
just
poems this week.
just
I'm
wrote
just
so
really good
many.
at poems.
But
Nice.
I think Mark was wanting to take day 12, which was L. So, the voice of Mark. Do you want to take it away for us, Bex?
Yes, I have Mark's day 12 poem here. Give me 2 seconds
No,
to
it's not.
make
I
sure
sing
that I
more?
have the right file. The poem goes, "Help me, I'm trapped in the bed." Oh no, wait, that's a different message. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Right.
We're all so concerned.
Always shows up before the party's over. When they arrive, bring the whole family. Self-respect, esteem, sexy and speaks clean. Hypes you up to all those hotties. Do they know that you're awesome? Tell them. Doesn't think you can outdrink that guy. Always leaves before the party's over. Just.
Nice.
Nice. That's really good. Ace, good job, Mark. I was doing air quotes, Bex, for your benefit. Good job. Who else wants to go? Who wants to go next? Has anyone got a poem they're dying to shout out?
I'll jump in.
Are you gonna go?
Yeah, I'll go. I'll do the one I wrote yesterday.
Oh, are we not going in order of days?
No, we're mixing it up this time. I'm letting you guys read whatever you want, because I'm like, if you've got a poem you really want to read, and then Mark is gone on date that day, it's not good.
It's very kind of you.
Exactly. So this is R. I don't have a title for it other than R. If I were to pick one on the spot, I would say R is for growing up. I'm going to take out this so I don't hear my voice. Okay. Runt reckless. Ripening rapidly, regal reflections, rebellious rage. Risky rendezvous and revelries raucous. Ringing rapturously round and round. Reality reforming. Restaurants and rationale. Respecting restraint and registering result. Relationship and rent. Receipt and reason. Rhythms and rituals. Repetition and routine. Relinquishing renown. Revoking riches and rank. Resigned retiree. Relief rewarded. Recounting reveries and rust-ridden relics. Remembrances retreating. Radiance released. Resting. So that's my R.
Nice. So how did you go about this, Barry? Because I did the univocalism this week, and so I trying to find a basis for, okay, let's get all the words together first, was how I approached it. What about yourself?
No, I didn't have a plan for this until I started sitting down and writing, and I wrote 2 R words, because that was the theme, and then I was like, oh, I can do two more.
What were the 2 words you started with?
I think I don't think I have them in at the moment. Oh no, actually, Risky Rendezvous and Revelrous Raucous. So it's like the second stanza. And then I kind of realized, oh, well, this is all around partying. So I wrote that stanza, and then I started going, okay, well, this is kind of a growing up thing if I continue this. So then I kind of went downwards, and then I did the first one, and then I did another one in the middle, and then I did the very end one, and then so I ended up doing just like a random structures, but like with the aim of then just getting life to death essentially.
See, I find it interesting as well because like you don't particularly work with rhyme a lot in your stuff. Like most of your stuff is more imagery based.
I hate rhyme.
Which because I rhyme a lot, and it makes like that's just I don't know. My brain is wired to try and make it, even if it's not full rhyming couplets or whatever. These sort of like little connecting rhymes. And so I end up running into real difficulty when I try and do more structured poems like that, because not only am I trying to make it fit this rule that I've picked, but then also trying to find ones that tie into each other. So that's...
I wouldn't be able to do that. I occasionally do rhyme, but it is sporadic, and I do not follow a set rhythm to when I rhyme and when I don't, which to me really bugs me, because sometimes I'll come up with a line that works really well with a rhyme, and then the rest of it doesn't have rhymes, and then I feel that just like stands out like a sore thumb.
That happens every time because I've often tried to write deliberately non-rhyming poems, and every time I have, I'll accidentally make a sort of little rhyming couplet and then well, this is pointless.
For writing this one, I ended up doing most of it just like off the top of my head, but then towards the end I was like, okay, I know the story I want to tell here, but I'm struggling for words, so I ended up using both thesaurus, and I literally just googled random R words, and then I got a list of R words so I could just sit and like, that one.
I mean, I laugh, but we've all been there.
Yeah.
Were you going to say something there, Kate, before?
No, I mean, I think just jumping off of what you said about rhymes, I don't tend to use end rhymes because I'm the same. Like, I find it really hard to just have rhyming couplets and then rhyming couplets and to be stuck in that structure, but so much of my work is about internal rhyme and about finding assonance and connecting things by their sound. So if I tried to write something where the sound wasn't an element, I would find that hard because that's sort of just what my brain does when I'm writing. I found actually it's really funny since I've been writing so much this month, when I compose a text or an email, I'm still doing it. And it's subconscious, but I'm like, ooh, yeah, that sounds really nice. How could I continue? No, you're just emailing your boss an invoice. Like, stop.
So could you actually, this is a good teaching moment for me. What is an internal rhyme? Because I have no idea.
So, basically, I think I'm using this term correctly. The way that I use the term, at least, is like rhyming sounds. And it's called assonance. So, I can read a short, like a couple of lines.
Give us an example.
And then, so the first two lines from a poem that I'll read shortly. A lipstick stain from a painful kiss. So, lipstick, there's the internal rhyme with the I. And then stain to pain, and then kiss goes back to lipstick.
Because if you think of like rhyme traditionally, or the most common rhyme, I guess, full rhyme is always
rhyme.
at the end. The big fat cat sat on the spiky gnat. And so you get like the end rhyme. So the internal rhyme is stuff where it's Khoisan does it a lot. Where the end word of a stanza will rhyme with one of the first couple words of the next stanza. And it creates this flow while making it seem like rhyme isn't happening. If you look at someone like Khoisan's work, you would assume he doesn't really rhyme. He writes much more sort of free verse. But actually there is a lot of internal rhyme and sound assonance going on in someone like his work. So it's a really good explanation, a good example, Kate.
It's how I write. It's just like using sounds like Legos and connecting them line to line to try to tie things together.
If anyone as well wants to like see how you really go about doing interesting rhyming structures and then making your rhythm dynamic, check out people that do rap. That's the best way you can see it, because those guys know so much about how to use words and use inflection and dialect and stuff as well to change rhyme. I know Gally was yesterday on the Instagram, and he was talking a lot about rap. so he was pointing you the direction of Mark Grist, a good friend of ours. I Am Loud, and he's got an amazing podcast, Mark Can't Rap. I'll throw a link in the description below. So yeah, go and check that out if you're looking to hone up on your rhyme skills. But yeah, thank you very much, Perry. Good job, good job. Kate, do you want to go? Have you got one lined up?
Yeah, sure. I can just sort of do the rest of that poem and contextualize it.
Brilliant. And yeah, listen out for what she's doing with the rhymes if you're listening at home, but active listening.
Yeah, because this one's quite short, and I can just sort of say what the inspiration is because I think it helps for you to contextualize it. So I've been thinking a lot, obviously, about disease and cures, prevention, eradication, things like that. And someone, I can't remember who, threw up on Twitter a picture of a smallpox vaccine scar. And I think that they were from somewhere in South Asia, and they were saying, oh, I have one of these, but I've heard that a lot of other people don't have one of these. How does this work? And so I started researching the smallpox vaccine and who gets it. And my parents both have those scars, and then I was talking to you, and you have a vaccination scar, but from something totally different. And so, yeah, it just got me thinking about both what these scars look like and what they represent. So I wrote this just quite short piece, which is, basically titled Smallpox Vaccine Scar. A lipstick stain from a painful kiss. A water droplet rippling into skin, an echo of disease, a curiosity riddling your bicep, a pale lily withered in bloom, a puckered, ruined tattoo, a tiny bullet wound, a dilated eyeball, a gaping mouth, a safety.
Wow.
Very cool.
It was interesting, actually, because when I started writing it, I was going to make it into a longer piece and sort of a commentary on how smallpox was eradicated, because the story is incredible. They did it in about a decade, the WHO. And so I was going to make it into this whole thing, and then it was like quite late in the evening, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to write a list of metaphors for it, and I'll expand it later, like whatever, I don't have time. But I think that this works as a poem. I don't think I need to expand it and make it narrative and use additional words. I actually just quite like it as
it's funny, sometimes you do
list.
find that as something that you put together as more of a notation or and then suddenly you see it separated out and someone say, well, actually that works quite nicely, which is nice, or a symptom of our brains not wanting to write poetry anymore. But no, that was excellent. Good stuff, Kate. Nicely done. Bex, have you got a poem for us?
I do, which is quite interesting that you guys have been talking about rhyme and end rhyme and all of that, considering that I have a poem that's entirely rhyming with end rhymes that I'm going to do.
It's good. People are going to think we planned this.
Yeah, I know. I think people know that we're not that organised. So this was my poem from day 15. I did post this on Instagram. And because of part of my thing this week was to try and write kids poetry, I didn't manage that like every day, but I've definitely written like 4 or 5 kids poems this week, including limericks and everything. And this is part 1 of Max and the Balloon. Max wished he could fly so high, right up there into the sky. He longed to be with birds and bees above the ground and streets and trees. So Max had hatched an awesome plan to make himself an airborne man. He rummaged round and round his room until he found a red balloon. He huffed and puffed and blew the red balloon. It grew and grew, and when it was about to pop, he tied it up tight with a knot. It wasn't long he had to wait as he began to levitate out the house in seconds flat. Goodbye, Mum and Dad and Cat, and upward soaring high above, a feeling that Max soon did love, and floating, holding his balloon, Max went flying to the moon.
Yes. Oh, that's so good.
I love that so much, Bex.
Oh, you were born to write kids poems.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a hard that I would fail immediately. I'd start making them about really dark things. You're amazing.
A lot of the first poems I write are like that. That's my favorite type of poem. I love that sing-songy, rhyming couplet structure. I just think there's something so beautiful about it. Like, I'm a huge fan of Dr. Seuss type poems. Just I think they're so much fun, and it's a really interesting way of writing. Yeah, you absolutely nail that, Bex.
Thanks. I'm going to write a part 2. One of my goals for next week is to write part 2. I think it's going to be like a 3-part thing because I want it to be fairly substantial. And then afterwards, hopefully I can like make it all pretty and maybe it'll be a poster or something. I don't know, whatever.
Well, that was going to be my question, is if that was the kind of something you were going to push to do more of. Like, I think it'd be very interesting to see what you could do with that. And like, we know a lot of cool artists. I'm sure you could find an illustrator or something. I know Sarah Grant or Iona Lee or whatever have good illustration skills.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something I really wanted to do. Like the first poetry book I was given when I was about, I think I was like 7 years old. I shared it in the Instagram stories this week. I still have the copy of this book. It was like a book put together, a collaboration for like Macmillan Cancer, and they did a book signing at a library, and both my mom and my aunt were librarians. I got a book signed, and it was like joining in poems, like things to like that really fun, really silly, whatever poems. And I always kind of wanted to do that because I thought that they were interesting. So it's nice I'm getting to do that now, and I'm hoping that maybe I can do that a bit more. April seems like a good time to experiment.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, have you read a lot of Shel Silverstein?
No, I haven't. I'm up for recommendations because I don't know that much about like, I haven't read that much kids' poetry, and I was really wanting to go to the library and take out some poetry books, but I can't. So afterwards, I will definitely.
Shel Silverstein's Where the Sidewalk Ends is just, for me, it's the iconic book of children's poems, and he's great because he's a bit sardonic and surreal and doesn't sort of just write about happy little flowers and things. His work is weird.
Good.
Or
That sounds good.
We need to hook you up with Don Berry.
Yes.
Because has he got a kids book out?
Yeah, he does.
Is it? Yeah, cool. Yeah, I've seen his shows, but I've not caught the book.
I have it in my office.
Oh, really? Ah. Well, I know what I'm doing with the rest of my Sunday afternoon. Yeah, it's good. I think I'll round us off on this with one, since I just had a wee short one. I'm going to do one that annoyed me. So I got really annoyed. Don't worry, I'm not going to descend into wrestling chat, but I was very, very annoyed at the wrestling, specifically WWE and Vince McMahon. So I wrote an angry wrestling poem. So here it is. He hates you because you're a mark. He hates you because you're smart. He hates you because you sneezed once and because you consider wrestling art. He hates you because you got over. He hates you because he thinks you won't. He hates you because others left him and because he's not taken seriously in sport. He hates you because he's greedy, arrogant, and vain. He hates you because you love professional wrestling, and you should hate him just the same.
Yeah, great.
Fuck billionaires that are assholes.
So for context, that's about Vince McMahon, who's the CEO of WWE.
Chairman of the WWE and a human piece of garbage. So that was my. I don't expect anyone to critique or comment on it. I just had to get that out of my system.
But I think genuinely, like, it's good, you know, and it's not just you were like, oh, I'm gonna write a thing about wrestling, blah, 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 buzzwords. Like, the first stanza in particular, you have some beautiful imagery, and the rhythm in there is really solid. So.
It's funny because this week, I didn't come to poetry. I didn't write poetry and then slowly build up the courage to perform and hone that skill. I did a lot of performance stuff and then started writing poetry. And while I have a couple poems that I have written that are very personal and there is a catharsis to the writing and performing of it, it is never the reason for writing. And so I kind of don't do it too much. I often think it's an issue where I don't kind of get too much into my own personal stuff. And it's funny, this week where I have been so tired and so stressed and like, I don't want to bog down the podcast, but things are bleak in Kev's brain and life. So like, it's funny, this week I have actually probably written more personal poetry than any point in the sort of 7 or so years that I've been writing. Like I wrote a poem about you, I wrote a poem about wrestling, about, you know, issues that I have. So yeah, it was a weird week. I'm throwing all mine up on Instagram as well. So if you guys want to check me out at Kev Out Loud, you can see me having an existential crisis in real time, which is fun.
But formatted very nicely, so.
Yeah, I've stolen Bexy's Canva account, so thanks for setting that up, Bex.
You're welcome.
So that's kind of our week in poetry. We hope you enjoyed these poems. If you want to see more poems from us, you can jump over to our Patreon channel right now, where there's the Loudcast Extra is up for this week, and it's us sticking about to do another 10-15 minutes or so of some extra poems that we didn't have time to get to on the podcast. So please do head over to the Patreon and check that out. All of your support really means the world to us. But for now, we carry on chatting for a little bit, because I wanted to bring up a poem that I love so much, and we got to release this week on our YouTube channel, which is the phenomenal Ladders by Jack McMillan.
It's just such a classic.
And the thing I particularly enjoy, and it's I'm still learning to edit a bit, so the sound isn't perfect on it, but the music, if you get your headphones on, turn it down for the first couple seconds, you'll be fine. Sorry, I'm learning. But the music that goes with it is just stellar. The fact that the two Jacks, Jack Hinks, managed to pull that off with sort of one run through was crazy. Thoughts on Ladders, guys?
It's just every time I see that poem, because I've seen it a bunch, just because I've seen Jack perform a lot of different times at different nights, and every time I see it, it gets better. It gets tighter. He knows how to perform it just so brilliantly. And I think as well, you were talking about things being tight. There's nothing unnecessary in that writing, and the thing that I love about Jack, at surface level, you could read some of his poems, the loaf of bread poem and Ladders and stuff, or I think he's got one about a potato, and you could read them and be like, this is silliness, this is surreal, blah blah blah, but they're all quite profound. They all have quite profound messages that if you're not actually listening, you might miss.
He's a real good ambassador for what I kind of sum up as that real like Scottish style of spoken word, as opposed to maybe more North American, or even sort of what the English style predominantly puts out. Like, we've a real good record of churning out these people who can do really funny but really poignant, with a lot of cool rhyme structure, a lot of interesting wordplay, and like that for me, especially when I broke into the scene, was the real staple of having these poems that were a lot of fun, and then they'd kind of kick you in the soul with the last couple stanzas. And I don't mean in a we've all seen poems that do a kind of hacky twist that isn't good.
Yeah, it's not like that.
But, dissecting their own metaphor or image that they've created is something that guys like Jack and Sam or Leo Glaister or Kat and Kev, like guys like that from that Glasgow scene especially, had
Ben
a real,
Rogers has
real
something like
bite
that.
to it under what is can often be taken for flashy, funny poems. Usually have real substance under them. You look at something like Kat Hepburn's poem about breakfast cereals, or being at festivals and stuff, and if you look at surface level, like you're saying, you can maybe miss some of the good stuff under. But yeah, Jack is phenomenal. Next week coming out, we have, I don't know if you guys have seen it, I get to see them all because I did the editing for Mary McCall is. I don't know if you guys remember last year when she was on. Wow, what a phenomenal piece. And again, it's with Jack Hinks on music.
I'm particularly loving all these videos because this is when I was exiled back to the US for a period of 6 months. So I missed all of our shows, and it was awful because I was still doing social media for them from my bedroom in America, being like, guys, this show is unmissable. We have Mary McCall, we have blah, 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 blah. And then while the show was going on, because of the time difference, it'd be like 3 p.m. in the afternoon in the States, and I would just be sitting in my room like, my friends are having fun.
Sad panda.
So yeah, it's great because now I get to watch all the shows.
But while we're on the subject of Jack as well, I know he does some amazing stuff with speculative books. Yes. So we're not famous for publishing just because we're very performative based, but we see a lot of the work those guys do in showcasing spoken word artists. So they manage to get spoken word artists that wouldn't necessarily publish and make these beautiful books for them, and they put it out as almost like subscription beer or subscription beer shows what I subscribe to. These sort of subscription boxes that you get every month, and so it's that you get a different poetry pamphlet every month, spec books. So like check those guys out. Jack does a lot of good work with them, and with In Deep in Glasgow, which is one of the top spoken word open mics in the country. They run weekly, I think, at this point. The mad bastard.
Well, not at this point.
Not at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a problem.
But like, when normality resumes, hopefully they'll be back to their regular schedule. So check out Indeed, check out Spec Books. Big shout out to them. And if you want to get a sneak peek at Mary McCall's video, you can jump over to the Patreon. But for now, Jack McMillan, click up on the eye and you'll be taken straight there. Check out Ladders. But I think that's gonna wrap us up here, guys, for this week. Next week we are going S to Y, so we're on S today, and we're going to Y next Sunday, so that will be our penultimate podcast coming at you next week. We will have one more for the roundup. If you've not joined in so far with NaPoWriMo, do it this week. Come on, jump on board, get into it, bust out 1 week. We know you can do it. If you've been going for the whole thing, big shout out to you guys who have been sending us all those poems, guys like Fiona, Stuart, Georgia, Jack, all those guys. We super appreciate it. Please do check out our Redbubble if you want to get any of your Loud Poets or I Am Loud merch. Jump over to our Patreon. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month. Please check us out on social media, all of the Facebook and Insta and Twitters. If you want to see more from Loud Poets, we have a bunch of videos up on the YouTube channel. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, all that jazz, and we will see you next week. Everybody,
I add another plug.
Yeah, go for it.
So because this podcast is recorded and comes out on Sundays, we don't tend to really plug this, but last night on Saturday was Quarantine Cabaret. And Quarantine Cabaret is this amazing event series, live streamed event series that Cameron Foster is running. Shout out to Cameron. As we've said on this podcast, a lot of artists have lost all of their gig income. And if you're someone who relies on that gig income, that's really, really hard. So what Cameron's doing is he's putting on these live stream shows on Instagram Live every Saturday at 7:30, I believe it is. They're free to watch, but there is a Just Giving page with a donation bucket, and anything that you can give is really, really appreciated. And the shows are really good. He's really gotten the cream of the crop of
They have been
Scottish
tremendous,
artists.
and I did the second one, and I know Cameron is putting a lot of effort into it, and he's not receiving anything back from it. It's something he set up just to benefit artists, and I think that's incredible. So he deserves the support not only of the scene but of you guys watching at home. So please do dig deep. I know it's tough for everyone, but if you do have a few extra quid, go and check out Quarantine Cabaret. Little shout out also, there's a bunch of people putting out live stuff. Sonic Youth are doing amazing stuff. I know Luke Wright is gigging every night.
Yeah.
Holly McNish has been doing stuff. Jess Green has been putting stuff out there. Dan Simpson is on Insta every day.
Yeah.
Repeat Beat Poet just took over the hosting duties
Lunar
at Lunar
Poetry Podcast. Yeah.
There is a huge amount. Get in touch if you want to find out more. But from us, stay safe, stay sane, stay indoors. Everyone say goodbye.
Goodbye!
Enough! Thank you all so much for watching this episode of the Loudcast. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button, maybe give us a subscribe, and if you could hit the bell icon so you don't miss any updates, we would appreciate it so much. If you want to get more Loudcasts in your life, you can jump over to our Patreon channel right now, where there's a Loudcast exclusive from this episode up live right now. So go check it out, donate, we'd really appreciate it.